Hi guys, welcome to Movie Chat and More. My name is Richard and today I'm going to be talking about Friday the 13th Part 2, made in 1981. Where do I begin? I really like this film, okay? This is the one where Jason became the killer, okay? Yes, we see him at the end of Friday the 13th Part 1. He jumps out of the zombie kid, am I right? He jumps out of the water and brings Alice down into the lake. And we all know the classic scene that follows in the hospital. What about the boy? Ma'am, we didn't find any boy. I can imagine if I had seen it. I mean, I was 1 year old. I was 1 year old when that film came out. Friday 2. I was born in 1980 when Friday 1 came out. But I can imagine if I was to see that now, I would probably have a good idea where they were gonna go with that. I know it's easy to say that now because we know. I mean, when you think of Friday the 13th, most people don't think of Mrs. Voorhees as the killer. Most people think of Jason. I mean, let's face it. I mean, it's, I'm going to try it on. I'm going to put it. This is the guy. This is the guy we all think about. If you talk about, I'm going to take that off just in case you can't hear me. Yeah, I mean, come on. Friday the 13th is, yeah. But in Friday the 13th Part 2, Jason Voorhees is not wearing the classic hockey mask. That wasn't introduced until Part 3. Also directed by Steve Miner, who directed Part 2, which we are talking about today. And, excuse me. Yeah, Friday the 13th Part 2, Jason has the sack potato head sack, yeah? The mask isn't really a mask, it's just a mask. You know what I'm talking about? It's not a Michael Myers mask, it's not a hockey mask or any of the other independent Halloween horror films you may have seen. It's just basically a potato sack on Jason's head. And when I was a kid and I watched it, I did not like it because, like I say, I knew Jason as, this guy. I knew Jason in the hockey mask, the unstoppable killer. And that's what I loved back then. My favorite back in the day, Friday the 13th films, started from number 5, where Jason wasn't even the killer, and onwards. I loved Part 6, I loved Part 7, I loved Part 8. The less said about Part 9, Jason Goes to Hell, the better. Yeah. You may love it, let me know. There's only one way. You gotta comment, you gotta like, you gotta subscribe, just let me know. Let me know what you think of Jason Goes to Hell, because I haven't met many people who like that film. Released in 1993, I think, yeah. Anyway, on with Friday the 13th Part 2. You're thinking, on with? He hasn't even begun. Yes, I have. I talked about Jason wearing the potato sack, mask. I look back at it now and it's kind of creepy, it's kind of creepy. It's whether or not you've heard the stories. I mean, I know I have more than once. There was a film called The Town That Dreaded Sundown, I believe. I know these things. Why do I keep saying stuff like that? Anyway, Town That Dreaded Sundown came out, was released, I think, before Friday the 13th Part 2. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And the killer in that movie wore the same mask. You know, the potato sack. And it was based on a real life killer in Texas, I believe. Well, the film was set. The Town That Dreaded Sundown, I think, was set in Texas. Whether or not the real events, the killer, which inspired that movie, whether or not that killer came from Texas or murdered in Texas, I don't know. That's something you're going to have to tell me. But in Friday the 13th Part 2, Jason is wearing the potato sack mask. And like I say, when I was a kid, I didn't like it. I like it now. And, yeah. That's all I've really got to say about that mask. Excuse me. Because it's not a mask. It's, it's a sack over his head. But it's, yeah. It serves its purpose. Anyway, going on. What next? Friday... Like I said, this video is a special request from a friend. I was always going to talk about the Friday the 13th films anyway, but I've got a good friend, and you know who you are. And, yeah. Friday the 13th 2 must come first. And I don't mind that. Anyway, yeah, cracking on. The premise of this film, it begins 5 years after the events of the original Friday the 13th, even though it was made only 1 year after, like I say, 1980, 1981. And yeah, 5 years later, what's left of Camp Crystal Lake is not much. It's... When I watch the film and I see the camp, what's left of it, would it really have deteriorated that much in just 5 years? I mean, really all it becomes is Jason's hideaway, if you will. It's a tiny little cabin place off the way, and it happens to be right on top of Packanack Lodge, which is where the majority of Friday the 13th 2 takes place. And there's a guy called Paul, and he's like the head camp counselor, and he's there along with his girlfriend Ginny, played by Amy Still, who is fantastic in this film. Anyway, Paul and Ginny are training these camp counselors. I think they are previous camp counselors. They've done it before. This is like a brush up, you know. They brush up their camp counseling skills, as it were. And yeah, so that's basically the premise of Friday the 13th Part 2. Part 2. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, the kids are there. I'll say kids. The teenagers. They're there at Packanack Lodge, and they're training. We don't see a hell of a lot of what they do to train. There's a scene where we see them running. God knows what that's all about. But to get fit, maybe. But okay. Okay, there's a character in Friday the 13th Part 2 in a wheelchair. Now, that was daring of them, in my opinion. In my opinion. Look, but it was. Because out of all, excuse me, out of the entire series, for them to take that kind of leap, if you will, leap into a disabled teenager being murdered by Jason Voorhees so early on in the franchise, I think that was a kind of brave leap for them to take, and it paid off. And if you ask me, the kill scene with that guy, I can't remember his name, but the kill scene with him The guy in the wheelchair? I don't want to refer to him as wheelchair guy, okay? The guy in the who happens to be in a wheelchair. He had a motorcycle. He had a motorcycle accident, and he's in a wheelchair. And the kill scene, he gets the machete through the head. I think that sounds pretty Jason to me. And what I'm really talking about, what I really love about that kill scene is after the initial, after that, he falls down all these stairs, backwards, and the wheelchair's rocking around, and I think the machete is still lodged in his head, and it's really cool. It's really cool. It's probably the best kill scene in that film. Yeah. Maybe. What else do I like about Friday the 13th Part 2? I like the way it's scary. It doesn't scare the crap out of me or anything like that. It never has. But it has an atmosphere. Because Jason at this time isn't the unstoppable force that he became. Well, almost unstoppable force. It has an atmosphere. We got a guy who's quite slim, not overly tall, got a sack over his head. Yes, I know. Yeah. I mentioned that before. And he's killing these people. He's killing these teenagers out of vengeance, because it was a teenager, a camp counselor, who beheaded his mother. So he's come back to seek revenge on any camp counselor he lays his eyes on. If you enter Jason's domain and you've got any ideas, or even if you haven't, of becoming a camp counselor, you're pretty much screwed, You're pretty much screwed. So I like that. There's a sense of revenge in this film. Vengeance, if you will. So yeah, that premise is cool. It's cool, and it's eerie. The atmosphere today I still think is eerie. Not so much terrifying, but eerie. Let's talk about Amy Still. She was the girl. She was the lady. She was the woman. I'm not going to pigeonhole. I try not to. Yeah. Anyway, Amy Still played Ginny, and she is one of the strongest characters in any of the Friday the 13th films. And I'm including everyone, okay? I'm including every protagonist character in these films. Ginny, played by Amy Still, is wonderful. She's great. She's awesome. She's fantastic. Why, do you ask? I'm not going to go into detail. You've seen the film. Hopefully, if you're watching this video, you've probably seen Friday the 13th Part 2. She's very strong. She's strong. I love Ginny's strength. And she's a little bit cocky as well. She's a little bit cocky. Yeah, self-assured, kind of. But in a good way. Not in a way that makes you think, oh God, when is this bitch just gonna die? No. Nothing like that at all. No, not for me. She's cool. I'm not sure how in that word is anymore. Cool. But if there's a female protagonist in any of the Friday the 13th films, you gotta put Ginny up there, haven't you? Ginny, played by Amy Still. She's great. She's got quite a few excuse me. She's got quite a few scenes in that film that I love. One being a comedy scene, really, because she's like Paul is the guy. Paul is the leader, the lead camp counselor trainer, and Ginny is his assistant. And she turns up, 5 minutes late, and Paul is a stickler for time and being on time and wilderness rules, and he takes it very seriously. And when she turns up, 5 minutes? Yeah, I think it's like 5-10 minutes late. He takes that to heart. It's like, what the hell is this crap, Ginny? Everyone else got here hours ago. Where were you? And Ginny's like, oh, well, my car broke down, and there's a couple of scenes between those two that I really like. And when there's a scene where Paul actually he asks Ginny, she says, I was really worried about you. And Ginny responds with a kiss to the cheek. That's Ginny kissing Paul, not me. And then she comes back with a very quick and very funny, bullshit, Paul. I love that. I love that scene. I love that moment. It gives you a little bit of an insight as to who Ginny is. She's not going to take no BS, you know. So yeah, Amy Stewart's Ginny, fantastic. There's also a guy in the film called Ted. Now, I'm not talking about Ted from Friday the 13th Part 4, obviously. This is a whole different person. Ted. He's kind of like the comedy clown of Camp Packanack Lodge, or let's just say Crystal Lake, you know? Let's not confuse things. Anyway, Ted. He's a right joker, and he's funny. He's funny. Not as funny as the Ted in Friday the 13th Part 4, no way. But he's a funny guy. He's the one, if you remember, he's the one when they go to the bar and everybody else goes back to the lodge except him. And he's a heavy drinker. I think we're led to believe he's bordering on being an alcoholic. And he's a fun character, you know. In real life, I've seen him on. You may have the DVD yourself. Crystal Lake Memories. There was a book, Crystal Lake Memories, and then they turned it into a DVD. And the guy who played Ted, I can't think of his name. He was also in John Carpenter's Christine, but not for very long. Watch Christine, you'll see what I mean. Anyway, yeah, Ted is funny. He's the comic relief character in this film. And spoiler alert, as always, he survives. Why does he survive? Because he doesn't go back to the most dangerous place you can possibly go back to in a Friday the 13th film. He stays away. He even, there's a moment where he even asks another guy in the bar, are there any after hours places in town? And I was like, he just makes me laugh. He's funny. He's cool. And anyway, this guy who's considerably older than Ted says, sure are, are there any after hour places? And sure are. And Ted turns around and does his little impersonation of that guy, and it's very quick. It's nothing really, but I love it. And it's kind of like, sure are. He's just I'm laughing just thinking about it. I love the character of Ted in Friday the 13th Part 2. If it wasn't for him being the comic relief guy, I don't think the film would be half as good as what it is. And that's being honest, Yeah, so what else about Friday the 13th Part 2? Like I say, I like to think of myself as a positive kind of guy. I don't want to dwell on what's wrong with Friday the 13th Part 2. And plus, there's not much wrong with this film, in my humble opinion. It it was what it was. It is what it is. I mean, at the time, we didn't know. I mean, like I said, I was only a year old, and I knew Jason with the hockey mask. That was Jason. So when I was a kid and I saw this, I wasn't overly keen, but now I get it. I'm 37. I'm nearly 38. Yeah, I get it. And the music is good. It still keeps that that plays throughout the film. And I think if you've got that in a Friday the 13th film, if you've got that in a Jason film, Friday the 13th / Jason film, then you're halfway there. But it can be overused. It can be. In later sequels, like 7 and 8, maybe even 6, which I love. And I will be doing a video about Friday the 13th Part 6. I'll be doing a video about all of these films, but I wanted to start with Friday 2 today. Anyway, yeah, that it was supposed to be, you probably know what I'm going to say. It was supposed to be kill her, mummy, kill. Kill her, mummy, kill. At the end of Friday the 13th, at the end of the original, when Mrs. Voorhees is hearing somehow the thoughts of her son, of Jason. Kill her, mummy. Kill her. Kill, ha, ha, ha. Kill, ma. And I've heard other YouTubers say this, no matter how hard I try. Ma. I can't hear it like that, okay? To me, it always sounds like I can't hear ma. Kill her, mummy. I just can't hear it that way. But it's in this one in abundance. And I love it. Who doesn't? If you love Friday the 13th, you probably love that sound effect just as much as I do, if not more. What else do I want to mention about Friday the 13th Part 2? Well, there were two guys who played Jason in this film. There was a guy called, what was his name? His name sounds like a men's shaving product. What was it? Warrington Gillette, or something along the lines. Let me have a quick look at the DVD. No help whatsoever. Yeah. Anyway, he was Jason in the climax of the movie. When he jumps through the window, whether or not that's a dream sequence, I don't know. But when we see Jason jump through the window without the mask, that's him. And he takes a hell of a lot of credit for that role. And so he should. He was good. The scene was a jump scare, and it was great. But from what I know, the guy who takes credit for playing Jason a lot in Friday the 13th Part 2 actually wasn't him. God, I wish I could remember these names. Look, if you've watched earlier videos, you know I'm not the best when it comes to remembering or pronouncing actors' names. But there is another guy who played Jason in that film throughout, barring that last scene. Like I say, I can't remember his name. But there is a guy, and whatever you see Jason, apart from in that scene, you're not seeing this Gillette guy. You're seeing Oh, I will think of his name. As soon as I stop recording, I'm going to think of his goddamn name. Look, anyway, this guy was good. You know, he was cool. I mean, he was the first Jason. I'm not including the kid that came out of the lake at the end of 1, okay? And there's a few funny stories. Well, not one or two. The Mask, for instance, the potato sack, had one eye cut out. I'm not sure which one. I think it was the right eye. But it doesn't really matter anyway, does it? Anyway, when they were rehearsing or whatever, the mask would keep on slipping. And he would be running around in the woods. Yes, Jason used to run. And the mask would keep on slipping. And so, of course, the one eye hole that was cut out of the sack would drop down. And this poor guy, would be running around blind. And they had to come up with something. They had to do something, because you couldn't shoot the entire movie with Jason unable to see, right? So what they did, they attached a little bit of tape or glue or whatever, so the mask would stay in place, so he could always see where he was going, and it left a little scar. I'm not sure it was permanent, but it hurt. It left a little scar in his eyebrow, I believe. And just a little story about Friday the 13th Part 2 I thought you might find interesting. You may already know about that, but if not, we all learn something new every day. God, did that sound condescending. Look, this is just a very quick video. You're thinking, quick? Anyway, yeah. Friday the 13th Part 2, I've touched on most of the elements I like. There are more. While I think of it, there's a campfire scene, right? Do you remember the campfire scene where Paul is telling the story of Jason and his mother, and how Jason is still out there? And you probably remember what I'm talking about, am I right? If not, watch it. If not, yeah. But you probably know what I'm talking about. Anyway, he's telling this campfire story, literally a campfire story. And there's a girl sitting next to him who in real life had never heard a campfire ghost story before. Ever in her real life. And if you watch her expression while Paul is telling this story, not Ginny, not Paul's girlfriend, the one on the other side. Watch her expression the next time you see this film, when Paul is telling the story of Jason and his mother, his vengeful mother. Her expression is priceless, because she was scared. In real life, she was scared. She had never heard a story like that around a campfire. And so when you look at her face, the fear is real. And I like that. I'm not saying I get a kick out of people getting scared. I get a kick out of being scared when it comes to watching a horror film. I never want to star in my own. Well, I never want to be... You know what I mean? I would love to be a part of a Halloween production or a Friday production. But in real life, let's keep these guys at bay. I mean, yeah, so she was scared by that story, and I think the expression on her face is priceless. Anyway, that's enough, guys. I've talked about this movie enough today. Probably, yeah, there's a chance I will revisit Friday the 13th Part 2 in the future. Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to be talking about next. So if you have any suggestions, if I want to stick with Halloween, really. Like I say, this was a request from a friend. Probably the best friend anyone could have. So, yeah. Next up, I don't know. I like to give a preview. Maybe later today or tomorrow, I'll give a short preview as to what my next video is going to be about. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I'm gonna hit stop record right now. This is Fred Flintstone Land. Remember that. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Like, comment, and subscribe if you wish to. No, just do it anyway. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and take care, and I'll see you all soon. Cheers.